2. I think we'll go ahead and begin. Welcome to all of our attendees for this module, Integration, a third wave of mission module for short-term mission trips. I'm Don McCrabb. I'm serving as kind of the MC for our time together. We have our agenda. After this welcoming, we'll of course move into prayer, some introductions, and then we'll get into the heart of the webinar. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and move to a new share. Okay. And now we're going to share our screen again. I'm having a little bit of technical problems here. Give me just a second. This prayer that we're going to be doing is one that we use in the module. So it's called the summons.
my name. Let me turn and follow you and never be the same. In your company I'll go where your love and footsteps show. Thus I'll move and live and grow in you and you in me.
Welcome back. I'm going to shift back to sharing my screen again, this time going back to the PowerPoint presentation. Again, welcome to our module on integration. This is who is going to lead us for our conversation this afternoon. Kelly, you want to lead us off with a word or two about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thank you, Don. Welcome. Thank you for having us here this afternoon. My name is Kelly Nelson, and I'm joining you from the Twin Cities here in Minnesota. It's a sunny, snow-filled day here. I am currently the executive director of From Mission to Mission. We serve those preparing to go during and then support missioners and volunteers in the processing of their experience when they come home. Really happy to be here and looking forward to learning with you.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. And Mike.
Thanks, Don. My name is Mike Hazel. I'm also from the Twin Cities. I was a Marinole missioner with my family in Venezuela for 3 years and spent a year and a half in Kenya. And for 15 years promoted mission and global solidarity in parishes with the Center for Mission at the Archdiocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis. I've been a part of the Third Wave of Mission Institute since its inception, and the Third Wave of Mission really refers to the short-term mission and parish twinning relationships that have evolved out of the third wave of globalization. Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Mike. And I'm Don McCrabb. I'm the Executive Director of the United States Catholic Mission Association, and with Mike and Kelly serve on the Third Wave of Mission Institute. Well, let's get into the topic of integration. Kelly?
Absolutely. Well, again, welcome and thank you for joining us. I have to say that I'm very excited to be discussing this important idea of integration, this important part of the missioning process with you, and share some excellent tools for your work in mission. We are, all of us gathered here today, we have a mission in common. We are united in our mission and our work with mission. So I want us to begin by reminding ourselves what we mean by the word mission. And at the Third Wave of Mission Institute, we often refer to the work of Roger Schroeder and the definition he gives in his book called What is the Mission of the Church? A Guide for Catholics. In his work, he shares that mission is proclaiming, it is serving, and witnessing to God's reign of love, salvation, and justice. We are all called to mission in our baptism, and our experience of mission is rooted deeply in who God has created us to be wherever we are. It's that longing, that inner longing to go beyond ourselves. It is that yearning to go out of our comfort zone, to cross borders, and to connect and be in community with other people in their own context. And all of this in the name of Jesus. And I'm sure you see and experience this in working with your parishes, your students, your staff, whatever your role be in this mission community. Like us at the Third Wave of Mission Institute, you have likely witnessed how the act of doing mission has changed and continues to change with time. There has been a significant shift over the years, an increase in short-term mission, where groups of people go for a number of days, sometimes a week or two. And there is a lot of good learning, good sharing that happens in these experiences. And there's also a lot of harm that can be done, harm for participants and hosts, if not done with great care and intention. One of the biggest problems we've seen with short-term mission, and really the basis for this work that we'll be sharing with you today, is the lack of reflection that takes place after the fact. So many groups invest in and do a wonderful job preparing to go, and that's excellent. Groups need to do that, and we want them to continue doing that. It's our hope, however, that with our work, we can encourage groups to also invest in the processing of the experience post-mission trip. Data shows that within 6 months of these short-term experiences, they simply can become a memory if not given time to reflect or allow the experience to become more than just a blip in our busy day-to-day, kind of moving from one experience to the next. Some of these trips happen during school breaks, so summer, spring, winter. A lot happen before or after big transitions in the liturgical calendar, and life just keeps on going. As you can sense with this image here, there's an image here of, let me see, it might be the one before this one, Dawn. These people coming and going, sort of the hustle and bustle, maybe of an airport or a shopping mall. Really, people will go on these trips and come home and are really swept into the reality of the social context we're living in. I think things are certainly different now as we live within the context of a global pandemic, but the ability to come and go and find these experiences is readily accessible for many. So we're hoping this work can be shared and used just as easily and widely. Our work invites all to see that these short-term mission experiences are so much more than that blip in our string of experiences. There's so much more there that we're invited to name, unpack, and wrestle with, and really continue to respond to and engage with. These trips can profoundly shape who we are if we pause to recognize what was, what happened, how it impacted us, and what it means for us and those we encountered now. So, in order to make sure this gift of transition can be had by all who have these experiences, and offer our support and care for those doing short-term mission, we at the Third Wave of Mission Institute decided to put together an accessible set of modules for groups to do this important work on their own. I'm going to pass now the baton to Mike Hazel here to tell you a little bit more about the modules and what they consist of.
Thanks, Kelly. What a great introduction to what this is all about. So at the Third Wave of Mission Institute, we've developed this tool called the integration module. And the objective of the module then, as Kelly has kind of laid out for us, is to assist return missioners from these short-term mission experiences to reflect upon and integrate that mission experience into their lives back home. And that'll become clearer as we go forward. She's laid it out well. We just believe that the lessons and some of the values that we derive from that experience can and ought to continue to be present in our lives, to be integrated. So it's not just one experience that happened one time, you know, when we kind of bracket it and come back to it occasionally, but really we really want to integrate the learnings and the growth that happened there into our everyday life. And that's the point of it. That's the goal of it. So let me just say say a little bit more about the tool. And the tool is kind of like a retreat or a workshop that can occur either in one sitting or over a series of short get-togethers. It can be done in person or virtually. The tool's broken down into 7 manageable segments, each with a different theme, about 45 minutes, maybe an hour per session. And for each of those segments, each of those sessions, includes kind of the following. Includes a video clip of, say, 4 to 10 minutes, whose images and words are designed to promote recall and reflection upon our own short-term mission experience. It includes prayer, which helps us to get in touch with how God is moving within us as a result of these experiences. It includes a workbook for participants with questions for reflection, and that's an example of that is kind of shown on your screen right now, which also includes, for each session, clear goals, key points of that segment. It's all well laid out. Each session, and the critical part is both reflection and opportunity to share those reflections with other participants, which not only helps to clarify one's thoughts, but also to learn from others. And along the way, we have found that it really builds a sense of community among the participants. And also it includes, for each segment or session, a workbook for the facilitator that gives clear step-by-step directions on how to lead the session. So it's all a nice packet that is accessible, as Kelly mentioned, on the internet. It can be done, it can be accessed on the internet, and then those sessions can be done virtually, like in the time of the pandemic now, or face-to-face. And I don't know if there's anything else I need to say, Don. I think that kind of lays out kind of what it looks like.
Great. Yeah, thanks very much, Mike. Again, what we want to do, the introduction, the first segment, is just to help people begin to enter into this process. And we like to think of the mission experience as a gift that needs to be unwrapped. And if you're like me, you get that gift and you unwrap it and you see it's a cell phone, which is great. But now the next thing you have to do is to take it out of the box, and then you have to figure out how it works, and then you have to explore all the possibilities. So unwrapping the iPhone or the cell phone is a process. It takes time. And in a similar way, unwrapping the experiences that we've had on mission takes time. Kelly?
Yeah, thank you. So the second segment is called Reflecting on and Sharing Your Mission Experience. And this particular segment provides the opportunity for participants to take a deeper dive into their experiences with some guided questions. These questions are provided to help them kind of think outside of themselves, I guess, so that they can name what happened big and small and how it affected them. It also invites them to share with others in the group out loud to tell the story of their experience. This is key to reflection, as it assists in the journey toward integration. It's one thing to reflect internally, maybe in your journal, but it's a whole other one to articulate things out loud. We discover new things in our reflections. Maybe others point things out for us that we didn't notice before. So this is really an essential piece. And to give you an idea of what our videos look like, I'm going to have Dawn play a little clip for you from this segment.
Integration doesn't just happen just because I had the experience. So when I think about all these years, what I've heard and learned is it begins with reflection. We need to be able to identify what was important from the experience. So if I reflect on it, it will start to identify what did I learn? What was important? What were the values? Because those are the things that you integrate. So there's a quote that I use all the time because I think I like the message of it. Experience is not the best teacher. We learn nothing from experience. We learn from reflection on our experience. And I think that that's very true. And for especially those of us that experience mission in days, reflection is vital. It's one thing if you've lived in a place and been touched by it for years, it can be more automatic. But for those of us that had the privilege of being in a place for a shorter period of time, if we want it to live on in us, we need to spend time looking at it so that we can make some commitments around it. So we begin with reflection, and that's a lot of what we're going to do here today.
Mike?
Such a great clip that kind of highlights, and the woman in the video is Judy Lupian, who was the predecessor to Kelly at the From Mission to Mission as the director there. The third segment is focuses on the people that we encounter. Very often from our mission experiences, the thing that we remember most are the people that we encounter, whether it's during our times of work activities or prayers or liturgies, or the stories that we hear from them. And this segment helps us to get in touch with and helps us to focus our reflection on some of those remarkable people. What was it about them that causes us to remember them? What did we learn from them? Reflecting on them and their reality also brings us to a new awareness of ourself. So in this segment too, we reflect on what did we learn about ourselves as a result of that encounter, about the world and our place in it, about God. So these are the deep dive not only includes kind of some of the experiences, but really getting in touch with those people and what they taught us and how we carry them with us.
Kelly?
Yeah, thank you. So segment 4 is called Remembering the Hard Parts. And before I say more about the segment, I just want to say first that painful things happen. Pain happens even during the best of mission trips. And so this segment gives people the opportunity to recall and name and explore any disappointments they may have had, maybe any conflicts that occurred while in mission, guilt they're feeling coming away from that. That's probably the most common we hear in short-term mission. Maybe even trauma and violence if that had occurred during the experience. I think so often these pieces of the trip go untalked about or avoided and unnamed, maybe even overlooked because of the rush of going and coming. It's a really big deal, right? There's this big physical change, there's a lot of excitement, and sometimes these things just can get brushed away. But without taking the time to name these things that can happen, in some cases that can take away from the good of the experience and leave people hurting for a long time after the fact. Many unsure of what to do with their lingering feelings. So these painful experiences are just as important, if not more, to our uncovering important lessons and values learned. But they must be named and dealt with. And I think those struggling from the trip or in the group must be supported in that. You can see in the image here of what looks like extreme poverty, which is quite normal for people to see on short-term mission trips. Some for the very first time. And many come home feeling guilty and aren't always sure how to channel those emotions, which is where this segment can come in and offer some really great support and encouragement. In addition to naming and sharing about these more challenging pieces of the experience, participants are given suggestions for moving forward. I think I want to note too that while This segment is sometimes challenging to participate in and facilitate. It is really helpful in getting to the heart of the matter and bringing groups together locally and globally, and getting gears turning toward really great personal and communal transformation. This segment does require a lot of great care on the part of the facilitator in preparation. I think lots of active listening during the session, and then any additional support they can offer people afterward is really helpful. Don, I'll let you take the next one.
Thanks, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as we're beginning this integration process, we begin to think, oh, maybe I need to live differently. We tested this module with some of the folks from the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. Mike Gable, the mission director there, facilitated that. Thanks very much, Mike, for that. And there was a woman there who, in dealing with this particular segment, said, you know, I found that I shop differently. So there's a change in her lifestyle based on what she has learned. I know for myself, I'm much more conscious of food and what I'm throwing away or not throwing away. And, you know, it's just very, very aware of the abundance that we've been blessed with. So one of the things that we do is give people an opportunity to reflect on, how am I being called to live differently? Mike?
So that leads us to the next segment, which is discerning missionary discipleship that derives from those reflections. So Don just gave a great example of how the mission experience actually might cause us to move from reflection to new kinds of actions or activities in our own lives in order to remain faithful to that experience or to those people we've encountered. So in order to have integrity, to be faithful to who we have become, requires us to step back and do some intentional discernment. And that's the focus of this segment. You know, in earlier segments, we've kind of uncovered our potentially new values. But we also need to think about our own lives, our own experience prior to that. What have been our passions, or what have new passions have evolved? What are our God-given or developed gifts or talents? We need to remain faithful to them too. What are the commitments I'm already engaged in? If we're thinking about doing something new, we can't just jump into a whole bunch of stuff, we'd go crazy. So we ponder all these in a spirit of openness and quiet listening prayer. You know, so Don gave the example of the woman who began to look at how she purchases things differently. And so lifestyle is one thing, but there are other categories of potentially new activity or action that we might engage in order to express that solidarity with the people that we've come in touch with. Some examples then from this segment are also things like, in addition to lifestyle, being a bridge builder. That is, sharing your story with others who have never encountered this kind of reality. So you begin to bridge people. People begin to have an understanding of other places in the world or other socioeconomic realities that they've never had. And that might include being a bridge builder to policymakers. So that might lead us to political advocacy, advocating on behalf of people, maybe not from the very community that you visited, but maybe from people with, for and with people who live in similar kinds of realities. It might mean actively working in solidarity with folks from the very countries we've been to who now live among us, the immigrants, the refugees. What is it that we can do here to ensure that they have dignity in the situation that they're living in now? Might mean actively working to preserve God's creation. And I know people in my work that I have been involved with at the Center for Mission in the Twin Cities that who have literally, on reflecting and and thinking about how can they be how can they be faithful to that experience? How can they be in solidarity? They've literally changed their occupations. They've moved into a different career choice. And I've also known students who have made choices for their career because they've had these encounters. So it can also affect vocation. So all of these things, this segment really is really, in some ways, it's the crux of the issue. We move, if we're going to be faithful, if we're going to be integrate the experience, we need to move out of our heads, through our hearts, into our hands and feet, and begin to act for justice and dignity for all.
Mike, thanks very much on that. Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. This final segment, it ties everything together, really kind of is the home run to Mike's segment. And it really asks participants to consider seriously how they might live mission here back home. You know, they've gone through the process of reflecting, telling their story, considering sort of all of the feels that kind of went along with the experience, and are now taking the next steps to think about what that means for their life, how it's shaped their lives. So this segment is the one where, you know, I really think the group should be challenged to, one, make a commitment and be specific about it, and realistic given their context, what is possible, what excites them too. To two, you know, they should find people to support them and hold them accountable. And that might be the group they've done this whole process with, or it might be their family, it might be a small group of friends, whatever makes sense for them. And lastly, I challenge them to act on that, act on that commitment, and always being kind and gentle to oneself. I think sometimes we can get overzealous and begin to, when we're coming back and filled with lots of guilt or whatever the feelings are, right? Thinking we need to do everything perfectly. But the ask here is really just to look at what's in your possibilities, right? We can't all do everything, but what is the part that you can do to continue living mission and integrating what you've learned into life back home? The last few groups I've worked with have created WhatsApp chat groups on their mobile devices. And that's their way of continuing to support and encourage one another. And that's been really fun to watch. They've included me in, which is very nice. So I get to see sort of the fun things that they're doing and the ways that, even though spread across the US, they're supporting each other in the work that they're doing. Some also are great at finding support in their parishes, maybe their school, whatever your context is, really finding a group to affiliate with and support.
Thanks, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the module in a nutshell, right? You gave you an overview and we kind of walked you through the different segments that we created, again, to help people reflect on and integrate their mission experience into their lives. Now, we wanted to really encourage you, we want to sell you, if you will, on the idea that you too can offer this program to folks who have gone on mission, small group, a larger group. You may be surprised in your parish setting how many folks have actually gone on mission. And so this could be an evening of reflection or a day. Format is really an important issue. And one, when we wrote this, we thought of it as a day-long experience. Indeed, the video clips, Mike did the video work with Julie on a day of reflection, a day that she walked through this whole module together. That's where that came from. So the day-long session is clearly one of the formats. We've also had these broken up into sessions, thanks to Mike. Mike Gable, we were able to beta test this module by working with a group out of Cincinnati. And that worked really quite well, especially given that we were in a COVID situation. So you could break this up into 7 sessions or multiple sessions, doing a couple of things, depending on the needs of your group and how big of a group you have. And then the third, of course, is some kind of hybrid. I mean, once you look at the material, you can begin to rearrange it as you see fit. And I think that's really important to us. We think the material is valuable. We think the processes are helpful, but you know your group, you know who you're working with, and you can create a format. And one of the things that I want to say on behalf of Kelly and Mike and myself and all the members of the Third Wave of Mission team, we're here to help you with that. So if you have, oh, maybe we could work with a returning group from a university environment, or a group that has done some work in the inner city, just in our neighborhood. What if we offer this as a day of reflection or a morning of reflection during Lent? We would be there for you to help you with that. What's key to that is the facilitator, and Kelly's going to help us understand what's involved with facilitating this kind of module.
Yeah, thanks, Don. So the facilitation piece is really important, but I also want to encourage all of you and say that it's something you could do. You know, the first part is naming a facilitator or multiple. You know, facilitation is a skill, I think a learned skill. It's not something you need a certificate for or a degree for. I think we all have many transferable skills from our life experiences and the work that you're already doing that make you very capable of doing it. Do want to stress though that it is something that requires a lot of care and attention and responsibility in caring for the group that you are walking through this process. As a facilitator, you'd also need to consider your audience and the time frame, the goal of your work and your time together. You know, do you have a day to do this? Do you have, you know, pockets of time? Sort of looking at the formats that Don suggested. What does that look like for you, and how can these fit in there? Lastly, really, then you need to design your process for your group using the tools that we've provided. And you know, I think part of the facilitator's job would be to sit down, look at all of the tools, look at your time frame, and kind of build out your program accordingly. Paying attention to time you need to set aside for prayer, for personal reflection, group sharing, enough time for the videos, because the content of the videos I think is essential to go along with those workbooks. And then if anyone, like Don said, I just want to echo, if you're feeling stuck doing this, you want to facilitate, maybe you aren't sure how to approach it, we can certainly help you think through how it might work best for your group and what you might need as a facilitator. Maybe different things to think about given the audience you're working with and the time you're working with.
Great, thank you, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now it's time for some questions and answers. So if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to drop them in the, if you would just put them in the chat box, that would be really helpful to us. So let us know if you have any questions or concerns. I want to raise a question really for both you and Kelly and you, Mike. Just thinking of someone who's trying to offer this, perhaps in a parish setting, and you would have people coming from a variety of experiences. In other words, you may have somebody that has gone on a short-term mission trip 5 years ago. They're in your group. There may be somebody who just came back from a short-term mission trip. Maybe there's a young adult who recently graduated from college that's in there. And maybe there's an active sister parish relationship going on in the parish. Any thoughts about how you would manage or deal with people coming from a variety of different times in terms of when they've had this mission experience?
I could just say one quick thing. You know, the people that when I was videoing Julie Lupien, and it was at a parish, and the people that were there that day had a whole wide variety of experiences. And one of the things, and I think it was also true with the beta testing with the Cincinnati group, is the process just seems to work if you've had just very little experience, or if you've been involved in, short-term mission, or if you've been involved in your parish, sister parish for 20 years. It's amazing how much it just evokes memories and situations that we just continue to learn from, even if they've been, it was 20 years ago or something. Anyway, that's what I find. It's just for whatever reason, the process works for a wide variety of groups.
Kelly, any thoughts?
Yeah. I just want to echo what Mike shared. I certainly think you can split groups up if you want to, but I don't think it's necessary. We've had people who are, so the way our program works from mission to mission, we follow this is our process for processing these experiences and integrating mission experiences. And we, over the years, have had people of all different phases in their return journey join us. And I think it only adds more richness to the reflection and provides anyone participating a more whole picture of what mission is, what integration can look like, and how you can live differently because of it.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Mike. Well, there does not seem to be any questions from our participants today. So why don't we just go ahead and move on. In terms of our next, we just wanted a word from our sponsors, if you will. Mike, you want to help us understand what the third wave of mission is?
Sure. So again, the third wave of mission refers to the different modes of mission that has evolved through the third wave of globalization. And the third wave of globalization is essentially, so what has been shown over time is that the modes of mission evolves dependent on the technologies available. And we're in a situation now where we have this incredible information technology where we can communicate instantly with people across the miles, right? So that's where that term, the third wave, comes from. We're in the third wave of globalization, and this is the mode of mission that's very short term, parish twinning relationships, parishes, people in the parishes can be directly involved in mission. They don't have to go through 5 years of training and be sent for their lifetime. It's very different, right? So the Third Wave Mission Institute evolved from the recognition that, those other waves of mission, the first wave and the second wave, those people went through a lot of formation, years of formation of how to do mission, and they learned from over the years, they learned how to do it well, how to be attentive to the culture and all of those things. Well, with this third wave, it's happened automatically. It's happened. People are just doing it. They have no formation for mission whatsoever necessarily. Some of them, a few, yes, but in general, no. And so, as Kelly mentioned earlier, that this can be done really well, and really people have really, gained and changed their whole life and all of those kinds of things. It can be transformational, but it can also be done poorly. And so this group got together and said, why don't we put together some resources so that people who are jumping into this from the parishes directly, this direct form of mission, have some formation, have some guidance on how to do it so they do it well. And so we've put together not just this is one of about 7 or 8 modules that we've created. There's other ones. There's a really good one on culture. There's one on how to deepen those mission relationships across cultures. There's one on sustainable development. There's one on parish twinning. So there's a bunch of them. This one on integration, we've really spent time with to develop maybe more substantially, but those other ones are also good too. So anyway, that's what the Third Wave of Mission Institute is. And as you can see, you can find those resources at thirdwaveofmission.org. Thanks, Don.
Mike, thanks very much. Kelly, you want to give us an introduction to From Mission to Mission?
Sure. Well, From Mission to Mission, we've been around for about 40 years now and are known for our support for volunteers and missioners, both before, during, and after their mission experiences. My little one is stirring over here. She's our mascot. She's about 5 months, learning all about mission and the work that we're doing. But so we are most known for our reentry work with missioners. We host weekend and 10-day-long workshops when we're able to in person, now virtually, walking people actually through the same process in a little deeper way, but and then continue to support them thereafter. Yeah, and I just want to say again, if you are wanting to do this with your group and wanting to go deeper and need assistance, you can certainly reach out to me, reach out to us.
Great. Thanks very much, Kelly. And then it's my job to introduce you to the United States Catholic Mission Association. We're a national alliance of missionaries, current and former leaders in mission, organizations in missions, and even missions themselves. So we're a national association. We've been around since 1949. Our core membership has been the religious communities, but increasingly we've added dioceses, parishes, even universities to our list of folks, because people need to be in relationship with each other. I think it was Pope Francis who said that missionaries accompany missionaries, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be there for you, to accompany you through the process, the entire process of mission, from that first awakening to mission, to the integration of mission, and then kind of getting back into the throw of things. So that's what we do with the United States Catholic Mission Association. We're an active supporter of the Third Wave of Mission Component Institute, and we are the ones who care for the website for the Third Wave of Mission. So that's USCMA. Kelly, Mike, it's time to bring our a session to a close. We're really good in terms of time. It's 2:49. A final word from you, Mike, and then you, Kelly, and then we'll move into our final prayer. Mike? You have to unmute yourself, Mike.
I would just, first of all, like to thank everybody for taking the time to come on and learn a little more about this integration piece. This is really, really important piece of the whole mission experience. I've been just amazed and touched by how engaging with people at the base over in other countries in situations it just touches people, and I've just been amazed at the commitment that many people I know from the parishes doing this directly have been changed and transformed. And yeah, and I just echo Don and Kelly in saying, you know, if there's any way that we can be a further support for you, please contact us. Thanks, Don.
Thanks. Kelly, final word?
Yeah, thank you. I just, want to thank you all for joining. Thank you for your work in mission that you're doing. It's very important, and I'm excited for you, if you're not doing it already, to delve into this integration piece. I think as either a mission educator or someone who works in mission, you'll find it really life-giving. It truly is wonderful to see people come to life and reflecting on their experiences. And also, to know that in this work, we are forming, leaders, future leaders, leaders in whatever role they're in right now, with a mission heart and a global mind and heart too. So I'm excited for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. And again, from us at the United States Catholic Mission Association, we are here for you, and look forward to accompanying you through whatever process you're in terms of mission. We believe that all of us as missionary disciples are baptized and sent, and that all of us are in some ways moving from one type of mission to the next. So with that, we'd like to conclude our time together with another prayer, closing prayer. This is by Sarah Groves, and the title is I Saw What I Saw. From all of us, thank you. God bless.